Space shuttles. Space shuttles are reusable spacecraft. They lift off from the launch pad like a rocket and return to Earth by gliding and landing on a runway. They have taken astronauts into space since 1981. Design. A shuttle is also known as on-orbiter. It is attached to an external fuel tank and 2 rocket boosters. At launch, the shuttle has 3 engines and the 2 rocket boosters provide power. After 2 minutes, the boosters fall away into the ocean and are collected by ships to be used again. After another 6 minutes, the fuel tank is empty and this too falls away. It is the only part which is not reusable. Crew. The shuttle can carry up to 7 crew members. Each mission has a commander, pilot, mission specialists and payload specialists. Mission specialists conduct experiments and conduct spacewalks. Payload specialists are people who are skilled at using the payload or cargo that is carried on the shuttle. Uses. The shuttle can orbit Earth for up to 14 days. The shuttle also takes astronauts to and from the International Space Station. The shuttle docks with the station and astronauts use both areas to live and work. Shuttle astronauts carry out experiments on plants or crystals, test equipment and monitor the effects of living in space on the human body. Types of satellites. Satellites provide information for weather forecasts and navigation, monitor conditions on Earth and transmit communication signals. Weather satellites. Weather satellites monitor climate patterns on Earth. They provide advance warnings of dangerous weather systems such as cyclones. Some weather satellites are in geostationary orbits, which means they remain positioned over the same spot on Earth. Communication satellites. Communication satellites are also in geostationary orbits. These satellites receive television, data and telephone signals from one spot on Earth and retransmit them to other places on Earth. Navigation satellites. Navigation satellites can locate people's position and speed of movement on Earth. This system of navigation is called the Global Positioning System (GPS). GPS satellites continually transmit to receivers on Earth. Receivers may be on ships or planes, in motor vehicles, or carried by people. A receiver uses the signals from 4 satellites to calculate position, speed and exact time. These signals can also be tracked by search and rescue teams. Scientific and observation satellites. Scientific and observation satellites monitor conditions on Earth. Observation satellites fly at a lower orbit and take high-resolution images of the Earth's surface. These are used for mapping and to record ice movements, crop problems and rainforest logging. Scientific satellites monitor volcanoes and changes in Earth's atmosphere. Near-Earth objects. Near-Earth objects (NEOS) are small objects in the solar system. They have struck Earth in the past and will definitely hit again, but are we in danger of near-Earth objects? The Earth has been hit by asteroids, comets and meteorites in the past. Scientists believe that when a large asteroid collided with Central America 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs became extinct. The collision threw up water and rock which hid the sun and covered the Earth in darkness for months. Dinosaurs could not survive in the cooler climate. Of the near-Earth objects, most meteors are tiny and burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Even the ones that do get through and land as meteorites are mostly very small. The Earth's atmosphere protects us from all objects up to about 40 meters across. Asteroids pose a much bigger threat to Earth as they tend to be much larger objects. If an asteroid with a diameter of more than 2 kilometers hit the Earth, it would cause a catastrophic planetary event. Many people would die as a result of the impact and of the Earth entering a long cold winter where most crops die. The good news is that an asteroid of this size only collides with Earth about once every 100 million years. The SpaceGuard survey scans the skies looking for any dangerous NEOs. As yet, none that are on a collision course with Earth have been discovered. When a bigger object is head our way, we should have the advance warning and technology to deal with it. Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system and has the fastest rotation. Saturn is the second largest planet surrounded by rings of ice-covered rock. Both are gas giants. Jupiter. If all the other planets were combined into one, its mass would be less than half of Jupiter's. It is 1,300 times larger than Earth. Jupiter completes its rotation in less than 10 hours. This speed results in strong winds and huge cloud bands. Strong storms develop when these bands of clouds meet. One hurricane known as the Great Red Spot has existed for over 300 years. Saturn. Like Jupiter, Saturn is made of hydrogen and helium gas. Saturn's rotation is almost as fast as Jupiter's. Saturn also has very strong winds reaching speeds that are 11 times faster than a hurricane on Earth. There are thousands of rings surrounding Saturn. Each ring contains pieces of ice and rock traveling in orbit around Saturn. The rings closer to the planet seem to hold larger pieces while the outer rings contain finer materials. Both Jupiter and Saturn have many satellites, some discovered only very recently. Jupiter seems to have the most moons of any planet in our solar system, at least 62. Saturn has more than 30. Having a best friend. A story tells that two friends were walking through the desert. During some point of the journey they had an argument, and one friend slapped the other one in the face. The one who got slapped was hurt, but without saying anything, wrote in the sand, "Today my best friend slapped me in the face." They kept on walking until they found an oasis, where they decided to take a bath. The one who had been slapped got stuck in the mire and started drowning, but the friend saved him. After he recovered from the near drowning, he wrote on a stone, "Today my best friend saved my life." The friend who had slapped and saved his best friend asked him, "After I hurt you, you wrote in the sand and now, you write on a stone, why?" The other friend replied, "When someone hurts us we should write it down in sand where winds of forgiveness can erase it away. But, when someone does something good for us, we must engrave it in stone where no wind can ever erase it." Moral of the story: don't value the things you have in your life, but value who you have in your life. The Dreaming Priest. Long time ago there lived a priest who was extremely lazy and poor at the same time. He did not want to do any hard work but used to dream of being rich one day. He got his food by begging for alms. One morning he got a pot of milk as part of the alms. He was extremely delighted and went home with the pot of milk. He boiled the milk, drank some of it and put the remaining milk in a pot. He added slight curds in the pot for converting the milk to curd. He then lay down to sleep. Soon he started imagining about the pot of curd while he lay asleep. He dreamed that if he could become rich somehow all his miseries would be gone. His thoughts turned to the pot of milk he had set to form curd. He dreamed on. By morning the pot of milk would set, it would be converted to curd. I would churn the curd and make butter from it. I would heat the butter and make ghee out of it. I will then go to that market and sell that ghee, and make some money. With that money I will buy a hen. The hen will lay May eggs which will hatch and there will be many chicken. These chicken will in turn lay hundreds of eggs and I will soon have a poultry farm of my own. He kept on imagining. I will sell all the hens of my poultry and buy some cows, and open a milk dairy. All the town people will buy milk from me. I will be very rich and soon I shall buy jewels. The king will buy all the jewels from me. I will be so rich that I will be able to marry an exceptionally beautiful girl from a rich family. Soon I will have a handsome son. If he does any mischief I will be very angry and to teach him a lesson, I will hit him with a big stick. During this dream, he involuntarily picked up the stick next to his bed and thinking that he was beating his son, raised the stick and hit the pot. The pot of milk broke and he awoke from his daydream. Moral: there is no substitute for hard work. Dreams cannot be fulfilled without hard work. Pundit and rich man. There was Pundit in the village. He was well versed in all scriptures. He knew everything, but he was poor. He did not have a house. He used to get his meals also with great difficulties. Even his clothes were very much worn out. So, the Pundit used to beg for his meals. He went from house to house begging. Please give me alms. On seeing his old clothes many people were thinking that he is mad. So, saying, "Go away," they shut the door. For many days he did not even eat. Once somehow he obtained new clothes. A rich man gave those clothes to the Pundit. Wearing those new clothes he went to beg as before. To the very first house he went, the householder said, "Sir, please come in. Please have your food in our house." Saying thus, with great respect, he took the Pundit inside for food. The Pundit sat down to eat. Varieties of soups, sweet meals, Vedas, and sweet foods were served for eating. Having prayed first, the Pundit took a sweetmeat with his hand and began to feed his new clothes saying, "Eat, eat." On seeing that all the householders were surprised and were not able to understand. So, they asked thus, "The clothes do not eat right. The yo, great Pundit, do you offer food to the clothes?" Then that Pundit answered thus, "Indeed because of this new clothes you offered me food today. Yesterday itself in this very house you asked me to go away. Since I obtained food due to these clothes, I am grateful to them. This is why I am feeding them." The householders were a little ashamed. Moral: never judge anyone by their outlook. The three types of people. A teacher shows 3 toys to a student and asks the student to find out the differences. All the 3 toys are seemed to be identical in their shape, size and material. After keen observation, the student observes holes in the toys. First toy, it has holes in the ears. Second toy has holes in ear and mouth. Third toy has only one hole in one ear. Then with the help of needle the student puts the needle in the ear hole of first toy. The needle comes out from the other ear. In the second toy, when the needle was put in ear the needle came out of mouth. And in the third toy, when the needle was put in, the needle did not come out. First toy represent those people around you who gives an impression that they are listening to you, all your things and care for you. But they just pretend to do so. After listening, as the needle comes out from the next ear, the things you said to them by counting on them are gone. So be careful while you are speaking to this type of people around you, who does not care for you. Second toy represent those people who listens to you all your things and gives an impression that they care for you. But as in the toy, the needle comes out from mouth. These people will use your things and the words you tell them against you by telling it to others and bringing out the confidential issues for their own purpose. Third toy, the needle does not come out from it. These kinds of people will keep the trust you have in them. They are the ones who you can count on. Moral: always stay in a company of a people who are loyal and trustworthy. People who listen to what you tell them are not always the ones you can count on when you need them the most. What's for dinner? A man feared his wife wasn't hearing as well as she used to and he thought she might need a hearing aid. Not quite sure how to approach her, he called the family doctor to discuss the problem. The doctor told him there is a simple informal test the husband could perform to give the doctor a better idea about her hearing loss. Here's what you do, said the doctor: stand about 40 feet away from her, and in a normal conversational speaking tone see if she hears you. If not, go to 30 feet, then 20 feet, and so on until you get a response. That evening, the wife is in the kitchen cooking dinner, and he was in the den. He says to himself, I'm about 40 feet away, let's see what happens. Then in a normal tone he asks, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So the husband moves to closer to the kitchen, about 30 feet from his wife and repeats, honey, what's for dinner? Still no response. Next he moves into the dining room where he is about 20 feet from his wife and asks, honey, what's for dinner? Again he gets no response, so he walks up to the kitchen door, about 10 feet away. Honey, what's for dinner? Again there is no response. So he walks right up behind her. Honey, what's for dinner? James, for the 5th time I've said, chicken. Moral: the problem may not be with the other one as we always think, could be very much within us. Cycle of evil. There was once a king who was so cruel and unjust that his subjects yearned for his death or dethronement. However, one day he surprised them all by announcing that he had decided to turn over a new leaf. No more cruelty, no more injustice, he promised, and he was as good as his word. He became known as the gentle monarch. Months after his transformation, one of his ministers plucked up enough courage to ask him what had brought about his change of heart. And the king answered, as was galloping through my forests I caught sight of a fox being chased by a hound. The fox escaped into his hole but not before the hound had bitten into its leg and lamed it for life. Later I rode into a village and saw the same hound there. It was barking at a man. Even as I watched, the man picked up a huge stone and flung it at the dog, breaking its leg. The man had not gone far when he was kicked by a horse. His knee was shattered and he fell to the ground, disabled for life. The horse began to run but it fell into a hole and broke its leg. Reflecting on all that had happened, I thought, evil begets evil. If I continue in my evil ways, I will surely be overtaken by evil. So decided to change. The minister went away convinced that the time was ripe to overthrow the king and seize the throne. Immersed in thought, he did not see the steps in front of him and fell, breaking his neck. Moral: cycle of deeds always gives us back what we give to others. If we do good to others, our good will happen. If we do bad to others, our turn will also come.